Imagine a weight of 6 tons, equivalent to 3 SUVs, balanced on 4 massive pillars. The ground beneath doesn't just vibrate, it ripples. You hear sound, but not with your ears. You feel it in your chest, a low-frequency hum that travels through the bedrock of the savannah. This is not a scene from a prehistoric movie. This is the arrival of the African elephant. For centuries, we viewed them as slow, lumbering beasts. We were wrong. They are the most sophisticated biological machines ever designed by evolution. Every inch of their body is a masterpiece of high-pressure engineering, from a trunk that can crush a skull yet pick up a single grain of rice, to feet that act as seismic sensors, detecting storms from hundreds of miles away. The centerpiece of this giant is a trunk, an organ so complex it puts modern robotics to shame. Unlike our limbs, it has no bones. Instead, it is packed with over 40,000 individual muscles. To put that in perspective, the entire human body only has about 650. This is the ultimate multi-tool. It's a snorkel for deep water crossings, a precision gripper for delicate tasks, and a 2,000 psi hydraulic press for felling trees. When an elephant decides to clear a path, it doesn't just push, it calculates the center of gravity. It wraps that muscular coil around the trunk and heaves with a force that can pull a tree right out of the soil. But watch closely when a mother interacts with her calf. That same power that can uproot an acacia tree is used to gently stroke a newborn's skin, a touch so soft it's almost invisible. This is a duality of the giant, brute force controlled by absolute precision. We used to wonder how elephant herds, separated by dozens of miles, would suddenly change direction at the exact same moment. The answer lies in their feet. The bottom of an elephant's foot is a cushion of fatty tissue that acts like a sophisticated microphone. When a distant herd trumpets in a low-frequency infrasound, too low for human ears, the sound waves travel through the earth. The elephant hears the vibration through its feet and jawbone. They are living seismologists. They can detect the vibration of rain falling on mountains 150 miles away and start their migration toward the water before the first cloud even appears on the horizon. They are tuned into the heartbeat of the earth in a way we are only just beginning to understand. Living in the scorching heat of the sun requires a massive radiator. Those iconic flapping ears? They aren't for fly swatting. They are high-tech cooling panels. A network of thousands of tiny blood vessels runs through the ears. By flapping them, an elephant can lower its core body temperature by several degrees in minutes. Their skin, though an inch thick in places, is incredibly sensitive. The deep cracks and wrinkles you see aren't just signs of age. They are a sophisticated irrigation system. These channels trap moisture and mud, keeping the skin hydrated and protected from the brutal UV rays of the savanna sun. They are armored, yet vulnerable, powerful, yet deeply connected to their environment. But the true power of the elephant doesn't lie in its 40,000 muscles or its seismic feet. All this physical hardware is controlled by a processor that is unlike anything else in the animal kingdom. Deep inside that massive skull lies a brain that carries the weight of history, a memory that spans generations, and a logic that rivals our own. As we look past the muscle and the bone, we find a mind that never forgets. To truly understand why these giants rule the earth, we must step inside the fortress of their memory. Imagine a world where you never forget a face, a smell, or betrayal. For an elephant, memory isn't just a nostalgic library, it's a survival hardware. While a human brain weighs about 3 pounds, an elephant brain is a massive 11-pound biological supercomputer. But it's not just a size, it's a structure. They have a highly developed hippocampus, the area responsible for emotion and memory, which is much larger relative to their body size than ours. This is why an elephant doesn't just remember, it feels its history. In the 1970s, during a brutal drought in Tanzania, researchers noticed something miraculous. While younger herds were dying of thirst, one old matriarch led a family 100 miles across a scorched desert to a hidden spring. She hadn't been there since she was a calf over 40 years ago. This is ecological memory. They carry a 3D topographic map of the continent in their heads. They remember the exact taste of water from a specific well and the scent of a predator that attacked them decades earlier. If the matriarch dies, that library of survival burns down with her, which is why the death of an elder is a catastrophe for the entire species. Elephants are one of the few species on Earth that can pass the mirror test. When you put a mark on an elephant's forehead and show it a mirror, it doesn't try to fight the other bird or animal. It uses its trunk to touch its own forehead. They know who they are. This self-awareness leads to complex emotions. They are the only non-human animals known to have death rituals. They don't just walk past a dead comrade. They stop, stay silent, and gently stroke the bones with their trunks. Scientists believe they are experiencing a form of post-traumatic stress and deep mourning. They remember their dead, visiting the same spot year after year. Their intelligence isn't just passive, it's active. In labs, elephants have been seen moving stools to reach food or using branches to swat flies. But in the wild, it's tactical. They've been known to plug water troughs with bowls of chewed bark to prevent the water from evaporating, saving it for later. They understand cause and effect better than a 5-year-old child. They don't just act on instinct. They deliberate, they plan, and they execute. In the vast, unforgiving landscapes of the African savanna and the dense, shadowed forest of Asia, there exists a social structure more sophisticated than many human civilizations. It is a kingdom without a king, a world where physical brawn takes a backseat to ancestral wisdom. Welcome to the Matriarchy. While the world often focuses on the great bull with his massive tusks, the true architect of the elephant world is a matriarch. She is typically the oldest, largest, and most experienced female in the herd. But her power isn't seized through violence. It is granted through trust. In this society, females never leave their family. They live in a permanent sisterhood, a multi-generational bond of grandmothers, mothers, aunts, and daughters that can span over 70 or 80 years. Males, on the other hand, are the perennial outsiders. By the age of 12 to 15, as testosterone begins to surge, they are gently but firmly pushed out of the family unit. They become nomads, forced to navigate the world alone or in loose bachelor groups. But the females, they stay. They build an empire of memory. This part of our journey explores how this female-led council manages the survival of the species, making life or death decisions every single day. What does it mean to lead? For a matriarch, it means carrying the survival of 20 or 30 lives on her shoulders. Scientists have spent decades studying decision-making in elephant herds. They've discovered that when a herd encounters a potential threat, be it a pride of lions or a human settlement, they don't panic. They look to the queen. The matriarch's brain is a massive database of threat assessment. She can distinguish between the roar of a hungry lion and a distant call that poses no danger. She can even distinguish between different groups of humans, knowing which ones are peaceful and which ones carry spears or guns, based purely on scent and clothing color. When the matriarch gives the signal, it is often a silent rumble, an infrasonic call that vibrates through the ground. The herd responds instantly. They may form a frontal defense, a terrifying wall of 6-ton giants with ears flared and trunks raised, or they may execute a silent retreat into the bush. This isn't instinct, it's strategy. It's a result of decades of learning. If a younger female were in charge, she might flee and exhaust her calves, but the matriarch knows when to stand her ground. She is a general of an army that prefers peace but is perfectly prepared for war. To understand the emotional depth of this empire, we must look at the birth of a giant. An elephant's pregnancy is a grueling 22-month marathon, the longest of any land mammal. The stakes are incredibly high. A newborn calf is a 200-pound bundle of vulnerability, unable to see well and barely able to walk. But in the matriarch's reign, no mother gives birth alone. The moment labor begins, the aunts and sisters create a literal fortress of flesh around the mother. They scream, they rumble, and they kick up dust and mask the scent of blood from predators like hyenas and leopards. Then comes the most beautiful phenomenon in nature, allomothering. In human terms, it's a nanny system. Young, childless females, the teenagers of the herd, take turns babysitting the calf. They shadow the mother, helping the baby over obstacles and nudging it toward milk. This isn't just helpful, it's an education. These young females are being trained. They are learning how to be mothers and how to be future leaders. This collective care ensures a survival rate that is unparalleled in the wild. If the mother is tired, the aunt steps in. If the mother is lost, the grandmother takes over. It is a safety net made of love and biological duty. Leadership is a sacrifice. During a famine, the matriarch is often the last to eat. She will use her tusks to dig for tubers or strip bark from trees, only to stand back and let the youngest calves take the lion's share. She carries the stress of the group. Studies have shown that matriarchs have higher levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, because they are constantly on watch. But what happens when the queen falls? The death of a matriarch is a seismic event. The herd doesn't just lose a leader, they lose their GPS, their history, and their protector. We see them enter a period of profound mourning, often staying by her body for days. However, the empire is designed to last. The matriarch has spent years mentoring her eldest daughter or the next oldest female. Their successor has watched every move, learned every watering hole, and memorized every rumble. The crown passes not through bloodlust, but through the seamless transfer of knowledge. As the old queen returns to the earth, the new queen steps forward, ensuring that the wild legacy continues unbroken. By no more delays. We are hitting the most intense part of the documentary now. This is where the story shifts from the beauty of the herd to the harsh reality of their survival. The silent struggle covers a collision between the ancient world and the modern world. The narrative needs to be slow, heavy, and provocative. The breaking of the map for 50 million years, the elephant's map was defined by rivers, mountains, and the seasonal scent of rain. But in the last century, that map has been torn apart. We enter the most tragic chapter of the wild legacy, the era of the Great Collision. As human civilization expands, the ancient migration routes, paths carved into the earth by thousands of years of heavy footsteps, are being blocked. Imagine being a matriarch, leading your thirsty family toward a watering hole you visited for 60 years, only to find a 6-lane highway or a high-voltage electric fence standing in your way. This isn't just a physical barrier, it's a psychological trauma. The elephants are being squeezed into smaller and smaller islands of green, trapped in a world that is becoming increasingly alien to them. The silent struggle is a battle for space, and right now, the giants are losing. This is not a story of villains and heroes. It is a story of two species trying to survive on the same land. In Africa and Asia, human-elephant conflict has become a daily reality. A single elephant can destroy a poor farmer's entire year of crops in one night. To the farmer, the elephant is a 6-ton pest. To the elephant, the farm is a buffet on an ancient path that used to be a forest. But look at the intelligence they bring to this war. Elephants have learned to recognize the sound of honeybees, a natural deterrent, and will flee at the mere recording of a hive to avoid being stung in their sensitive trunks. They've learned to raid farms at night, staying silent as ghosts, even teaching their calves how to step over fences. In some part of India, elephants have been observed using logs to knock down electric fences, neutralizing the danger with a chilling level of logic. They are adapting to our world, but at a cost. Every encounter leaves scars, both physical and mental. We cannot speak of the struggle without speaking of the white gold, ivory. While international bans have slowed the trade, the shadow of poaching still haunts the savannah. But the damage goes deeper than just the numbers of dead. When poachers kill a matriarch for her large tusks, they aren't just killing one animal. They are deleting a hard drive. They leave behind a herd of orphans who have no one to teach them where to go or how to behave. We are seeing a rise in delinquent behavior among young male elephants, aggressive, unpredictable outbursts, because they grew up without the discipline of the elders. Poaching is creating a generation of traumatized giants, a broken society struggling to remember who they are. There is a bitter irony here. The elephant is a mega gardener of the planet. They pull down trees to create grassland for gazelles. They dig water holes that save hundreds of other species during droughts. They transport seeds across miles in their dung, planting the forests of tomorrow. If the elephants vanish, the entire ecosystem collapses like a house of cards. They are the keystone. As we watch them struggle against fences and bullets, we are watching the slow dismantling of the wild itself. The struggle isn't just theirs, it's ours. In the final part of our journey, we will ask, is there still room for a giant in a world built for humans? We often speak of saving elephants as an act of charity, but in reality, it is an act of self-preservation. Throughout this journey, we have seen them as engineers, as geniuses, and as grieving families. But in this final hour, we must see them for what they truly are, the architect of the earth. If the elephant disappears, the heartbeat of the wild stops. Scientists call them a keystone species. Like the central stone in an archway, if you pull the elephant out, the entire ecosystem collapses. They are the ones who create the forest highways. They are the ones who dig for water in dry riverbeds, providing a lifeline for zebras, lions, and birds who would otherwise perish. When an elephant eats, It travels miles before depositing seeds in a rich pile of fertilizer, effectively planting tens of thousands of trees every year. To say the elephant is to save the forest, the water, and the very air we breathe. Why do we feel so connected to them? Why does a video of a baby elephant playing or a matriarch mourning her dead move us to tears? It's because in the elephant, we see the best versions of ourselves. We see a society that respects its elders, a community that raises its children collectively, and a species that possesses a level of emotional intelligence that rivals our own. Our destinies are intertwined. The final prophecy is simple. A world that is too small for a giant is a world that is too small for the human spirit. If we allow the most magnificent land mammal to be erased by fences and greed, we are admitting that our civilization has lost its way. The struggle of the elephant is a mirror reflecting our own humanity. Can we coexist with the force of nature, or must we conquer everything until nothing is left? But the story doesn't have to end in tragedy. Across the globe, a wild legacy rebellion is forming. From corridors being brought back for migration to high-tech satellite tracking that allows farmers and giants to share the land in peace, hope is a living, breathing thing. We are seeing a new generation of conservationists who don't just use guns to protect elephants, but use empathy and technology. We are learning to listen to their infrasonic rumbles, to respect their ancient maps, and to give them the one thing they need most: space. The kings of the savannah aren't asking for our pity. They are asking for our respect. They have survived for millions of years. They only need us to step back and let the earth breathe again. The sun is setting on the old world, but a new dawn is possible. You are now part of this legacy. Every time you share the story of the giant, you are adding a brick to the wall of their protection. You are the voice for those who speak in rumbles we can barely hear. This is the end of our documentary, but it is the beginning of your role in their survival. The giants are watching the horizon, waiting to see if we will keep the promise of the wild. Don't let the silence be the final word. Join the Wild Legacy Rebellion. Hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and share this film to wake up the world. Comment King below if you stand with the giants of the earth. Our journey continues with you.